Welcome. Thank you for coming out on this chilly night. This is the regular board meeting of Methacton School Board. Please rise for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
By way of announcement, the board met in executive session on January 15th, that was after last week's meeting, where we discussed teacher negotiations and a personnel issue. We will not be going into executive session after this evening's meeting. Attendance, all board members are present with the exception of, never mind, Mr. O'Neill just got here. All board members are present. Moving on to recognition of guests and scheduled speakers, Dr. Quinn.
Thank you. We have several presentations this evening. First, I'd like to call Tammy Soy and Rebecca Joseph down to the podium. I might mention that Aubrey Seal could not be with us this evening as she's homesick today. While they're walking down, the school district has a competition each year for students to participate in for the holiday card, and we look for our young artists in the district to give us their best work that we can utilize on the district's Christmas card. And this year, Tammy and Rebecca submitted work, and we were very proud to honor it and portray it in our district holiday card that we sent out to other school districts and others as well. So congratulations, ladies. We have a small token of our appreciation. I might add that I went to their classroom during the December time period to honor them, and they looked thrilled when I went in there and surprised them and gave them a bunch of holiday cards for their use. Weren't you surprised by that? Yeah. It looked like I was a dentist coming in to pull all their teeth, is what it looked like. But I was very happy to do that and surprise you. Congratulations. Next, we're honored this evening to honor our school board and all of the hard work they do for the school district and for the children of the district. And at this time, I'd like to welcome the Worcester Elementary School Chorus under the direction of Stephanie Shuey, who will be doing some musical selections for us. And then our school board representatives will be leading the program from there this evening. Ms. Shuey?
I apologize for the December selection that we have. This is from, these are excerpts from our winter concert. Our first piece is called Festival of Lights.
Hanukkah, Hanukkah, Festival of Lights. Hanukkah, Hanukkah, holiday delights. Candles burning brightly, one more lit each day, are symbols of freedom, showing us the way. Hanukkah, Hanukkah, Festival of Lights. Hanukkah, Hanukkah, candles bright. Hanukkah, Hanukkah, festival of lights. Hanukkah, Hanukkah, candles bright.
Our second selection is called December's Keep. For the piano players in here, the melody for it was written by Frédéric Chopin.
Silently they fall, snowflakes one and all, drifting to the ground. Winter all around, branches reaching high, touching frozen sky. Earth lies cold asleep in December's heat. Still, silent white on this winter night. Branches reaching high, touching frozen sky. Earth lies cold asleep in December's heat. Branches reaching high, touching frozen sky. Earth lies cold asleep in December's heat. In December's heat.
Our final selection is probably the chorus's favorite, and I know they heard me say that at the winter concert too. It is called Harambe, a song for Kwanzaa.
Kwanzaa is a time for learning of the history. Kwanzaa to the future building our community. Kwanzaa, lighting 7 candles
Public education has long been a cornerstone of America and a great equalizer that gives every child the hope of a better tomorrow. In our community, many dedicated individuals work to ensure that every child, every day, is given the education they deserve. Every year in January, we salute a special group of individuals who help run our schools, the 9 elected members of the Methacton Board of School Directors. These 9 unpaid volunteers spend on average more than 20 hours a month in school service. They vote on multi-million-dollar budgets, hire staff, assist in the selection of textbooks, review curriculum, and more. As state funding gets tighter and local tax bases continue to fluctuate, the job of these 9 individuals has become much more challenging. Fortunately, our school directors meet these challenges head-on and make difficult decisions with me and my fellow students in mind. They are elected volunteers hired by our parents and neighbors to be their voice in the school district. They are your friends, community leaders, and parents at our schools. Each January, we ask everyone in the Methacton community to make time in some way to thank a school director for the time and effort they have put into helping our schools. Thank them for the long hours spent at meetings and reading through paperwork. Thank them for making the difficult decisions on our behalf. Thank them for listening, and thank them for serving every child every day. Please welcome 5 first-grade students representing each of our 5 elementary schools. These students will assist in distribution of certificates of recognition to our 9 school board directors as small token of our gratitude. With us today are Alex Herman representing Arrowhead Elementary School, Benjamin Clark representing Audubon Elementary School, Juliana Clement representing Eagleville Elementary School, Hannah Nuliami representing Woodland Elementary School, and Megan Wirtz representing Worcester Elementary School. Okay. Joyce Petroskas, President. Kim Woodring, Vice President. Howard A. Jones. Kathleen Barone. Christian Nascimento. James W. Phillips. Mark O'Neill.
Well, thank you.
Herbert B. Roth. Maria Shackelford. That's it. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Next, we'd like to invite the school board out into the audience to enjoy the annual data portfolio presentation. Good evening, everyone. This is our annual school data portfolio presentation. I've talked with President Petrauskas, and I have promised to keep it to a maximum of 1 hour. You know I enjoy this every year. Basically, the slides in front of you are a snapshot of what is in the data portfolio. The data portfolio will be available in our school district's libraries, the public libraries, main office. This will be placed online along with other years' portfolios as well, for a comparison if you'd like. I actually have quite a few slides. I'm going to go through them rather quickly. I'll be happy to answer any questions as we go along. This is meant to be a snapshot of the district, various data points to summarize the work of the district and to point out that the district is not just all about one test, but multiple measures when it comes to measuring the success of the district and our students. Inside the book, there's various data points. Again, you can see here lots of student data, participation data, graduate data, assessment data, staff data, alumni data. And you'll see that over the course of the last several years, we have added additional material as the years have gone on. A little bit about the community that's listed here. You won't find all this in the book, but you'll see that we serve about 13,000 households. Obviously, there's 2 townships, Lower Providence and Worcester. If you look at the median household income, it's rather interesting. You can see a comparison between Worcester and Lower Providence, as well as a comparison against Pennsylvania. And you can see because of that, we're considered a relatively affluent community in the state. And because of that, about 80% of our revenue is generated from local taxes. We serve about 5,100 students, and you can see some of the data points there that we'll get into a little bit further into the presentation. Proud to say that we have 10 national finalists this year. A little bit more about the district, 8.4% free and reduced lunch. One of our buildings this year, Eagleville, is up over 20% free and reduced lunch, quite high, although I will share with you that the state average for free and reduced lunch is 40%. You see our demographics. You can see our professional staff. If you look in the data portfolio, you will see additional information on our staff, and you'll see that over the last several years, our staffing levels have gone down significantly as we've trimmed the budget back. Enrollment, you will see that it has declined over the last several years, and in fact, our enrollment this year is the lowest enrollment in the last 10 years. Here are class sizes listed for this year and last year. This is the overall class size. And again, pretty level. You'll see that we hover anywhere between the high 300s, low 400s. This is for elementary schools, upper elementary school, intermediate school, and of course the high school. Our ethnic data the last 2 years you can see listed here. If you look in the book, you'll see the multiracial category is fairly new, and there'll be a number of years where there are no students listed because that's a new category the state asked us to start using. We have about 100 English language learners in the district, representing about 26 different languages spoken. And we have about 10 ELL teachers serving these students. Our special education numbers have increased over the last 6 years about 88%, although if you take a look in the 2012-13, our numbers are slightly down. Most of this is attributed to a reduction in the amount of students receiving speech services. You can see that our out-of-district placement students have gone dramatically down as the district has worked hard to bring students back into our school district to serve them here. We believe we can meet their needs the best. We believe it's a more inclusive environment, and we believe that our families and our students appreciate that support. We talked about economically disadvantaged students, and you can see the numbers here. Eagleville this year is actually over 20%. This data is about a year old as we do our state reporting. North Monco Technical Career Center attendance is as high as it's been in the last several years. And again, we average about 130, 140 students. Graduation rates remain high. Student dropouts remain low, and we actually monitor this all throughout the year. Attendance rates remain high. It's nice to know that our students want to come to school. And our grade level retentions are very low. We have some students going to charter schools and homeschooled, and you'll see data about that in the booklet as well. A small number overall for the district. This slide represents the number of students who are referred to our intervention and prevention program at the Arcola building and the high school, and you see the numbers are slightly down. While that may seem to be good news, it's also a concern because we want our teachers to identify students who may need some counseling or support, and we want to be identifying those students. So while the numbers look like they've dropped, we want to ask the question whether or not we're evaluating and monitoring our student body. Athletic participation in the district remains very high. I would hope that we'd all agree that when students are actively involved and engaged, they do better academically as well. And our numbers of participants in athletics, in music, and the arts is very high. Again, you'll see music participation is also very high. This is data around what our students do after they graduate. And you can see that 91% of our 2012 graduates continued education or joined the military. We're very proud of the advanced placement testing in our district and the number of courses we offer. We've been working hard to increase the number of courses available, to increase the number of students participating, and increasing the number of higher scores they get. And I'm proud to say that we are at high numbers there. You can see all the courses we offer. You can see the number of students who are taking the tests. And 92% of our students who take the test get a 3, 4, or 5, which typically allows them to get college credit when they go on to post-secondary education. Our SAT scores in verbal, math, and in writing are as high as they've been in a number of years. And you can see that if you compare our scores against the Pennsylvania mean score or the national average, we excel in every category every year. This is for verbal, this is for math on the SAT, and this is for writing. And if you go back and you look, you will see that in the SATs, our graduates from last year scored the highest they have ever scored in each one of these with all the data I have up here last year. National Merit Scholarship finalists, you can see we continue to excel in this area, having quite a few finalists every year, and this past year we had 10. Looking at the state assessment, again, if you look at all the grade levels here that are now assessed, you'll see that Methacton surpasses the state average in every grade. This is for reading. This is for math. This is for writing. And of course, we know going forward, our 11th grade students will be taking the Keystones, or our high school students, and this data will start to look slightly different in years to come. Here's science. A few years ago, we implemented another assessment so we could take a real quick snapshot on how our students are reading in the district so that we would have beginning of the year and end of the year data. This represents the data we collected this year and you can see that we're looking at grade level equivalents here. This is a sample of grade 2, beginning of the year. So we assess the students early on, and you can see that the majority of the students are reading at a second grade or higher level. These scatter plots show all, in this case, 4 through 8 buildings in the state, and shows achievement levels and growth levels for Pennsylvania schools. And so the red star is Methacton. And so what you want to do is you want to be a high achieving district and also have high growth. So it's not good enough to have a student come in who's advanced, but then not move them forward. We want to take a student who's achieving high and then move them or grow them while we have them. So in this case, this shows Methacton achieving high and growing quite a bit from here, but what we'd really like to see is right here. So if you look at schools in this area who are achieving or growing greater than Methacton, that would be any school to the right and up from us. So this little area right here. So when we look at comparison schools that we could learn from, those are the schools we're looking at. Again, that's the box that shows that. When it comes to reading, same thing. You look at the box, those are the schools that may be achieving higher or growing more than us that we'd look to as models. If you're wondering what this red line is, that is the AYP target that was put in place by No Child Left Behind. There are indications that may go out as of next year, but for now it's still a benchmark that we're looking at. So these are the schools that for 4 through 8 reading we would want to look at. And these are the schools that would want to look at us. Yes?
In the blue box, the ones that you say are sort of the models that we should look through.
Yes.
When you pull them up on your information source, you know exactly what all those schools are there?
Yes, if you go, anybody in the room could go to the, I believe, the PVAS website, and you could run your mouse over these little dots, and the school's name would come up for you. Good question. Grade 9 through 11 math. Again, last year, if you remember, I referred to this as the one I wanted to put on the refrigerator, look to a lot. And if you look at the red line, it looks like we're not quite making it because the AYP target has risen so high. But if you consider where the box is and the schools that are achieving either higher or growing more, we're still in good company. Again, this is reading. So PVAS really gives us a unique measure of growth versus just achievement. And we've talked about AYP, or adequate yearly progress, and you'll see that for the school district, we've made AYP every year. For the high school, we know we've been in and out because of our work with our special education subgroup that we continue to focus on. As you know, we've put a lot of programs in the high school to try to work toward making AYP. And you'll see that our COLA's numbers cause us to be concerned. And again, these are the targets that we're looking to hit now, and every year the bar gets higher. And you can see that in 3 years, the expectation was that every student in school would be 100% proficient or advanced. A little bit about staff data, as I shared earlier. You can see that in 2009-10, our professional staff numbers were closer to 440. We're down to 429. And again, support staff down, administrators down, totals down. You'll see this slight increase here, and if you recall, last year we shared with you that the number of part-time bus drivers needed to go up because of the runs that we were adding. So while the total cost of salaries went down, the way we organized to have those bus runs work, mostly in Worcester Township, the number of employees needed to go up. This shows the level of service by our professional staff, and you can see that almost half of our professional staff have 10 years or less service. And this really supports the notion of continue to focus on staff development for our employees. We've done an alumni survey the last several years. Our responding pool is not always very high, and so I'm not always sure that I could say this is statistically significant, but it does give us some information to consider. And all of the survey and the information is in the data portfolio. And we ask them several questions, and we use a Likert scale to look at this data. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions you might have. So I'd like to say that the performance level of the district remains very high and very strong, and progress continues. Thank you.
Another presentation. Let's see how long it takes to figure it out.
Hi, my name is Lisa Coop, and I'm the proud mommy of two twin girls, Mackenzie and Morgan, who are happy second graders at Eagleville Elementary. And it's because of those two little girls I'm standing here tonight as the president of Eagleville's Home and School. Prior to being president this year, I was vice president last year, and the first year in Eagleville, I was just taking that year to get my feet wet and get used to the way the school runs, and I'm happy to say that I have enjoyed every second and minute that I've been in that school to support the Eagleville family. So this year, anyone who is not familiar with Mr. Sorgini, he's a Disney lover, and he and the staff have chosen the theme, "If you can dream it, you can do it." So the Eagleville Home and School has taken that motto and carried that throughout many of our events and activities through the year. Without the help and support of my go-to people, that being my fellow board members and my go-to helpers of moms and dads who show such a successful year like we are having this year. So when I was thinking about what I wanted to do my first year in as president of Home and School, the first thing that kept coming to my mind was, like you heard Dr. Quinn say, our percentage of our population is definitely more on the needy end. So I wanted to do what I could do to provide fun and new experiences for those children, especially for those children who could not experience anything except during the regular school day. So this year, one of the first new things that we did was we had a walkathon. First time ever at Eagleville, and we set a high goal for ourselves. We wanted to raise $7,500. We didn't quite meet that goal, but for Eagleville, we did raise $6,200, which we felt was a wonderful, wonderful success. So here are some of our smiley faces of our kids. They had to walk around the school for a half hour, and we had our little cheering section out front cheering them on, and they had an awesome time. And at the end, they got a little healthy treat. In order to earn the money, we set student incentives. The goal was to raise $35 and they would earn a water bottle, and if they raised $75, they would earn a t-shirt and a water bottle. And we got wonderful corporate sponsors to pay for the prizes for the kids. And we kept our theme going with Mickey and with our "If you can dream it, you can do it" motto on the shirts. We always do spirit wear, that's an ongoing thing, but this year we changed it and made it a little more special and included our motto on there. We had a lot of new families this year at Eagleville, and we wanted them to be able to show their Eagleville pride with some fun new spirit wear. This is the second year that we've done movie night. Last year, our teachers kicked it off for us, but this year, Home and School took it over. And keeping with our theme, we showed Brave. We had over 65 families and about 250 people total come. They made themselves right at home on our gym floor with their sleeping bags and pillows. I even saw one little girl fast asleep by the end of the movie. We popped nice, yummy popcorn, had lots of snacks, and it was a fun night. Talent show. This is the third year we're doing a talent show. It's at the end of March, so if anyone wants to see some of our talented Eagleville students and staff, they always put on a couple acts for us. Feel free to come on out. It's on March 22nd, and we're asking our students this year to keep with the Disney theme and make Disney proud and come up with a Disney-themed act. Along with some of these other new things that I mentioned tonight, some of the other things we've added in the past couple years are holiday crafts. We sponsor 3 parties throughout the year. We do a fall festival, a winter holiday, and a Valentine's party coming up. And Home and School has taken over the purchasing of all of the crafts so that they're age appropriate and grade level consistent, so that every child is walking home with the same craft no matter what grade or class they're in. So we're going to continue doing that. This will be our third year of doing our family game night. We have a bingo night where the families can order pizza and they can win prizes, and we also piggyback that on with a basket raffle. We ask every classroom to pick a theme, and then the parents of the students donate the products for the basket, and the chairperson puts it together. And that night is one of our biggest fundraisers. We usually raise close to $2,000 that night. Last year was the first year we did the end of the year carnival, and this year we're going to make it bigger and better. Last year we kept it small so we could kind of see how we did. This year we're going to tie in our Disney theme and add more activities and fun things for the students to celebrate what a good year they've had. So as you can see at Eagleville, we are having a magical year, and we love our Mickey. So thank you for your time.
Hi, I'm Jen Halfpenny. I am one of the Audubon Home and School co-presidents. I have my co-president with me is Karen Klager, and she's here tonight as well. Tonight we wanted to talk a little bit about contributions of different communities, our family contributions, our community involvement, and our student contributions, as well as home and school. Our families contribute quite a bit monetarily to our different events throughout the year. One way is through our winter solstice. We receive donations from families and family-owned businesses that total almost $1,300, and that allows us to produce baskets that we then raffle off during our winter solstice event. At our walkathon, we raised over $10,000. This was our third year doing our walkathon, and through very generous donations from our families, we were able to raise quite a bit once again this year. Time. We ask a lot of our parents. For some of our events, we need a lot of volunteers. For a walkathon, we use about 60 people, our winter solstice, 62, and our International Fun Fair, which is held every June, we need over 100 volunteers. We wouldn't be able to hold these events without all of these parents and family members who help us out. The community also plays a really big role in all of our events. For our walkathon, local businesses contribute as sponsors, both monetarily and with donations for prizes for our students and teachers. With that money, we're able to purchase t-shirts for every student in the school, and they wear them the day of the walkathon. Our variety show. We've been hosting a variety show for a number of years, and for the past 3, Shannondale Retirement Community has been very generous in offering us the use of their theater since we don't have a stage at Audubon. So for 3 nights, we're at their beautiful theater. They provide shuttle buses for transportation for our guests, and it's a wonderful show. Ours is also March 22nd, so we can compete with Eagleville to see who gets more attendees. But it's great because some of the retirement folks actually come and watch the show as well, and they love that too. Our winter solstice, we also get community involvement for this. We get donations from Shannondale for a pool membership, a YMCA membership, We had a signed Philadelphia Flyers lithograph this year, and those were all silent auction items, and it's another way we raise money. And then the rest of our baskets are made with donations from local businesses, over 70 local businesses. We have about 87 baskets, I think, we had this year that we actually raffle off, or drawings, I should say. And then student involvement. Our walkathon. Our students walked on average of 2 miles each this year. It was a total of 795 miles. We had many students run for the entire 30 minutes, and they ran over 3 miles each. School beautification. Our students have been helping weed and plant grass in our car loop. Our science fair. Last year was our very first science fair, and we had over 140 participants. And our next one is next month, and we're expecting the same number of students this year. So we're really excited that the excitement is still there for that science fair. Winter solstice and our 4th grade community service is some of our community service events, a canned food drive, and a toiletry kit. Toiletry kits for the hospitality center in Norristown. And then lastly, without all the support from our families, from the community, we wouldn't be able, as Home is School, to do what we do. Some of the things that we have been able to do over the past year are, this year we were able to purchase smartboards for all of our 2nd grade classrooms. We were able to buy guided reading books for all of our classes in the fall. We just had a book distribution for all of our students, where every student in the school received a book. We have a family fun night in the fall to welcome students back to school. We have a science assembly to go along with our science fair next month. It's called Flight by the Franklin Institute. We have a cultural arts assembly, and we do a staff luncheon at the end of the year to thank all the teachers and staff. And then last, I just wanted to say that Home and School really couldn't do all this without the support of our principal, Mrs. Rickey, the teachers, the staff, the custodians, everybody at school. It's really everybody's effort that goes into allowing us to do what we do. So, thank you.
Thank you for the home and school reports, and we'll move on now to additional support, starting with Finance Committee, Mr. Nascimento.
Thank you. The Finance Committee met last week, discussed several items, including budgeting, upcoming budgets, property assessments, and proposals on changes in rates for tax collectors. And with that, I'll turn things over to our Assistant Business Manager to take us through any other additional items we want to cover. Anything you want to?
No, there's nothing in addition. The only thing in addition is we got the results from the bus purchase of the used buses.
Okay. That's it. We'll come back during the fiscal section.
Thank you. Moving on to Policy Committee, Mrs. Shackelford.
The Policy Committee met on Tuesday, January 15th at 9 a.m. at the Farina Education Center. The following policies have revisions to reflect the district's current organization structure. There were policies number 407, professional employees, policy 426, complaint process, policy 800, records management, and policy 819, student crisis. We also reviewed policy 808, food services, which is a revision to transition to a contracted food service provider, and policy 916, school volunteers, which is revised to define volunteer and their requirements. Those policies are for a first read tonight and scheduled for a board reading next month in February. Thank you.
Thank you. Property Committee, Mr. Phillips.
Good evening. Last week, Worcester had their township meeting on the ordinance for the lights. That meeting's been continued, ran out of time for that night. Also, one of the issues that we had was meeting a 30-day requirement for the planning commissions to review the ordinance. And this is something that we discussed in the property committee this evening, that we're going to ask Worcester to try to have a special meeting so we can have that, meet that 30-day requirement, and we can expedite the process of getting the ordinance. Also, property committee this evening, we made a motion and granted it to put an RFI out for special counsel to represent us in the land development and on that phase and the conditional use. So that's about where we're at, and need you guys out there to support us at the township meetings and give people calls and get the phones ringing. Thanks.
Thank you. Technology Committee, Mr. Roth.
As we have not had a meeting since the last regular board meeting, I do not have a report. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Moving on to North Monco Technical Career Center, Mrs. Woodring.
Thank you. Lots has happened over at the Career Center since the month of December. December featured Breakfast with Santa, which brought out about 160 visitors. Almost 90 children received coloring books made by Career Center students. And I'm sorry I forgot those. I had one for all the board members, so we'll have to wait till next time for your coloring book. The holiday buffet was another success this year. Sending schools each had representatives in attendance. Food was great. Each guest received a collection of cookies made by students. Centerpieces were also made by students and available for purchase. The December newsletter featured Career Center's student service to others in need for the holidays: Hurricane Sandy victims, women's shelter residents, Manna on Main, and the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. Students baked 500 cookies for Heartland Hospice. Also featured in the December newsletter was a Methacton High School graduate, Stephen Catania, who graduated with honors from the Career Center as an automotive technician and is now pursuing a bachelor's degree in business management at Westchester State University. Sadly, just prior to our December meeting, the Joint Operating Committee lost a member in Captain Sam Schweigert. He was a member of the Perkiomen Valley School Board and was 88 years old at the time of his passing. He will be missed at the table. During January, the floral design and landscape students participated in the Pennsylvania Farm Show the first week in January. Just last week, the Career Center was awarded almost $100,000 in state grant money. This grant money is to be used for upgrading equipment at the center, so students will be familiar with the state-of-the-art equipment they will encounter in the contemporary work environment. The Career Center's annual audit for the year ending June 30th, 2012 revealed no deficiencies and reporting compliance with all government auditing standards. We had no meeting in January. The next meeting is scheduled for February 20th at the Career Center. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Nascimento, or anything to add?
No, Kim and I spoke, and what we're going to try and do is coordinate our reports so that one of us will speak every month, so you don't get to hear both of us every week.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the intermediate unit, Mr. Jones.
I have no report. Tomorrow is the meeting. We didn't have a meeting in December.
Okay, moving on to a legislative liaison, which is me. The House returned to the Capitol last week, and the Senate returned today, so committees are being finalized in each chamber. Today on the Hill, in the House Education Committee is considered several bills, but the one of particular interest was House Bill 75, which would prohibit school districts from starting classes prior to Labor Day. Also, the PDE plans a spring release of a Pennsylvania performance profile. What it's going to be is a website that will provide academic performance by each building in every school district, and a demographic data also for the entire district. The building level data will be one of the components of the state's new teacher evaluation system, which is Act 82. And on the horizon, February 2nd, Governor Corbett will be presenting his 2013-14 budget. And that's my report. Moving on to curriculum instruction and staff development, Dr. Berry.
I placed before all of you the Act 48 committee report, the monthly report. It's actually a 2-month snapshot, so quite a few items on there for you to review. I just wanted to tie in with Dr. Quinn's data portfolio presentation, in which he highlighted that 44% of our staff have 10 years or less of service in the district, and he commented that therefore we continue to have needs around professional development, and we really have been working hard to have a comprehensive plan. Some of the things I wanted to highlight on this report are, first of all, we have some of our teachers and administrators who are not only attending conferences but presenting. Dr. Xanthia Reddish presented at the Pennsylvania Association of Supervision and Curriculum Development Conference, November 19th. On the December 2nd through 5th SAS Institute, which is the Standards Aligned System, Pennsylvania Department of Education Conference. 4 administrators presented 3 sessions on SAS in practice, how the Methacton District is working to have a standards aligned system here. I also wanted to highlight December 13th. We had 3 staff members in our math department attend a Train the Trainer session, that there's going to be a follow-up, and this is all relative to the standards of mathematical practice, which are part of the Common Core State Standards. You'll also notice throughout the report there are several mentions of staff members attending MCIU council meetings. There's social studies, we have health and PE, math, ESL, language arts, and science. These councils bring together educators and leaders across the county to talk about current issues relative to their department needs, and those meetings are very beneficial for us to network, to find out what's happening at the state level and how districts are handling that. Finally, I wanted to highlight on the back that we did have a district-wide in-service day on December 5th. Our Skyview and our COLA staffs received their Day 1 training of Dimensions of Learning, which again is our district instructional framework, and other people were involved in morning department meetings and afternoon choice sessions that were relative to district initiatives. And one other piece I did want to mention, you'll also see in district-sponsored training several mentions of collaborative scoring. This is around our district writing assessment plan, whereby teachers are getting together to score the district writing prompts, talk about how our students are performing, and then discuss plans for implementing changes to curriculum and instruction so that we best meet our students' needs. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to Community Liaison, Mrs. Barone and Mr. Roth.
I just wanted to take a second to thank Lower Providence Police Department again for all of their help and concern after the Sandy Hook Elementary tragedy. The Lower Providence Police Department stationed a police car at each of our schools just to show comfort and concern and security for all of our community. So I just wanted to take an extra thank you for that.
My report basically echoes a lot of what Mr. Phillips said in his report regarding the property committee with regards to work on with what Worcester is doing with the ordinance, and things are moving along. And it should be pointed out too that even though a lot of focus is being put on the light ordinance, that work is being done on the field project too by the administration, and it's kind of like a lot of different things going on at the same time. I was not at the Worcester meeting. I had another meeting to attend to, so I will open it up to if any other board members that were there would like to comment at this time. That's fine. But other than that, I really don't have anything else to report. Thanks.
Thank you. Home and School Liaison, Mrs. Barone.
First, I wanted to thank Eagleville and Audubon for coming out. Those presentations were great. But I also wanted to point out and let you know how grateful we are for everything that you do there. It is more than running the parties. Everything you do, even just from your presentations, the money that you raise, the things you do to help support our staff and curriculum are amazing. So thank you.
And moving on to Student Board Representatives.
Currently, the Environmental Club is developing a rooftop garden, and the class of 2014 is also planning prom and the talent show. Along with this, Habitat for Humanity is working on endorsement with Home Depot and Lowe's. And in the past month, Methacton High School students in various Relay for Life teams have earned about $700 for the American Cancer Society through caroling.
In addition, a number of athletes on the winter track team have already qualified for the state competition in the end of February. Also, the boys and girls varsity basketball teams are doing very well, each only a couple of losses. In addition, the cheerleading team got first place in their first of many competitions. Lastly, about 40 athletes received Pac-10 All-Conference for the fall 2012 season. Thank you.
Thank you. And to the superintendent's report, Dr. Quinn.
Thank you. I have two items to highlight this evening, one about a staff member and one about a student. Methacton High School junior Brittany Schrader has been selected among this year's winners of the Widener University Leadership Award. Widener University has created this program to identify the region's best young leaders and honor them for their outstanding community service contributions. Principals in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware are asked to identify one current high school junior who exhibits strong leadership skills, academic excellence, and exceptional character. Brittany will receive a $20,000 scholarship awarded over 4 years if she chooses to enroll in Widener University. I'm also proud to report that Worcester Elementary School physical education teacher Jeffrey Jacobs has been selected as the Elementary School Physical Education Teacher of the Year by the Eastern District Association of the American Alliance for Health, Physical Education, Recreation, and Dance. That's it.
Thank you. Public comment on board actions. At this time, I'd like to invite any community member to comment on any action, any board action that we are voting on this evening. Do I have any comments? Okay, there being none, we'll move on to board meeting minutes. The December 4th minutes here, I'm assuming will include both the reorganization meeting and the regular board meeting. So do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the December 4th meeting? Mrs. Woodring, second. Mr. O'Neill, all in favor? 9-0. Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to fiscal items, Mr. Kohler.
Thank you. We're asking the board for their approval for items 9.1 through 9.11, including the list of bills, the treasurer's reports for November and December, tax collector compensation, the filing of the Plan Con K for the Series 212A bond issue, bid award to purchase 7 used buses, technology wireless project, and the IU budget 9.7 through 9.11 are approval of the intermediate unit budget for 2013-14.
Okay, then do I have a motion to approve under fiscal items 9.1 through 9.7? Is that all? 9.11. Okay. Do I have a motion? Mr. Jones? And a second? Mr. Roth? All in favor? 9-0, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, let's move on to personnel items. Mr. Harney.
We have 1 resignation classified for your approval this evening. We have 1 employment classified. We have 6 employment long-term substitute professional. We have 2 employment long-term substitute classified. We have 1 change of status classified. 1 sabbatical for your approval this evening. We have 1 uncompensated leave administrative for your approval. We have 4 uncompensated leave professional for your approval this evening. 2 uncompensated leave classifieds. We have 7 supplemental contracts. We have 3 additions to the classified substitute list and the attached list of volunteers who have completed all requirements under Board Policy 916.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve under personnel items, item 10.1 through 10.15? Mr. Jones, second. Mrs. Woodring, all in favor? 9-0, motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to programs, Dr. Barry.
I have 4 items this evening for you under programs. The first is to ask for your approval for a new course in the high school, Advanced Placement Human Geography. Not only will that add to our options for advanced placement courses, but adds it as an additional option for 10th graders, which typically we don't have as many courses. So that's the first item. The second would be the elimination of algebra standards from the 8th grade math program at Arcola, which I spoke about last week. 11.3 is accepting the gift of 4 smart boards from the Audubon Elementary Home School Association, as well as the gift of the Franklin Institute Science Assembly called Flight from the Home and School Association at Audubon. And the 4th item is asking for your approval on a trip for the high school cheerleaders to a competition in Ocean City, Maryland, February 22nd through 24th at no cost to the district.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve under programs items 11.1 through 11.4? Mr. O'Neill, second. Mr. Nascimento. All in favor? 9-0, motion carries. Thank you. Okay. So, we don't need to approve first read policy here, but again, here are the policies that were listed that Mrs. Shackelford referred to. So we'll move on to 13 other. Dr. Quinn.
Joyce, as far as on the policy for the first read,
yeah.
I'd like policy 800 to go back to the policy committee. I have a couple issues with the length of time in which we're going to hold records, and I think we have to, with the right to know laws and all that, I think we have to really look over that again. For instance, emails that are deleted after 30 days. I think, you know, that should be a lot longer. Anything electronic anymore, you can store a lot of information in a very small space, so I think we should be holding on to this information longer than 30 days, just for our own sake and under right to know laws.
Okay.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Under other, this evening we are going to reaffirm our commitment to board standards and to the code of conduct. But before I ask for a motion, do I have any comments from the board? Do you have a comment?
I guess it's not necessarily a comment as much as it is a statement of the obvious, but as I read our affirmation material, I noted again our extensive list of elements that contribute to our effectiveness as a board, with an overarching responsibility to promote student growth and achievement. To that end, it's critically important that we take our conduct standards seriously and apply them all in a consistent and holistic manner at all times. That's it.
Any other comments? Well, I do have a comment. First off, though, I would like to, I think I speak on behalf of the board when I say thank you for our recognition this evening. It's very much appreciated. And as we do every year at this time, we will reaffirm our commitment to adopt the PA School Board Association standards for effective school governance and the code of conduct. If you haven't already looked at them, the standards and the code is attached to this meeting's agenda on the agenda manager. By and large, this board does a pretty good job of maintaining these standards and the code. For example, last year we reviewed and passed more new and updated policies than in any other year. We changed the way we conduct our work sessions so that the community has the opportunity to observe the board's work being done. We also developed and used a brand new superintendent evaluation and goal-setting instrument. We held board retreats last January and numerous board development sessions throughout the year. We still have work to do. In fact, I hope we'll always still have work to do. 2 weeks ago, Dr. Quinn and I attended a leaders seminar where one of the topics of discussion was a stakeholder survey. The follow-up literature we received asked the question, what do you want to find out, and a list of what questions we might want to be asking of our stakeholders. Something to think about and definitely discuss with the board. We have board development meetings planned for this year where we'll not only learn more about some of the educational changes that are taking place, but also set priorities on issues that should be addressed. Your input is always welcome. Mr. Andrews knows this. You know how to reach us. Come to a meeting. That is by far the best way to get accurate information. If it's not possible for you to do that, however, email us. Please know anything you share with any one of us is shared with the entire board and vice versa. In closing, I would just like to say that each and every one of us on this board is here for the right reason. We want the best for this school district. We're not perfect, but we're here trying our very best. Thank you. With that, may I have a motion to approve the notice of reaffirmation reaffirming PSBA standards for effective school governance and PSBA code of conduct for members of Pennsylvania school boards? Mr. Nascimento, do I have a second? Mr. Phillips, all in favor? 9-0, motion carries. Thank you. Oh, okay. District calendar, Dr. Quinn.
The administration recommends the approval of the instructional calendar for the 2013-14 school year.
Do I have a motion to approve the district calendar for the 2013-2014 school year? Mrs. Wittring, second. Mr. Phillips, all in favor? 9-0, motion carries. Thank you. Do I have dates for board members' calendars and for everybody else's calendars for that matter? On February 19th, we have our work session at Skyview Upper Elementary School. And again, on February 26th, we will have our regular school board meeting here at the high school, and our early start is noted to be at 7 o'clock. Moving on to old business, do I have any old business? Then we'll move on to new business. Do I have any new business?
I have new business.
Okay.
Mrs. Petroskis and I attended a training session sponsored by the Pennsylvania School Board Association on January 12th, and a topic was discussed that I think I would like the board members to think about. We talk often about board procedure and guidelines, and there was a sort of a hand survey taken at this training. Some boards have board procedures, some do not. I did a quick online review of 4 other districts to learn that there's no guide per se, procedural guide that I found online, at least with these 4. There's quite an array of different policy arrangements and committees on these particular 4 district websites. But I think maybe what the board should think about, and maybe we can put this on as an agenda item the next work session, is if we do decide that it's appropriate for us to build our own procedural or protocol guidelines, then that would take us in one direction. If we find that maybe just tweaking our policy to add a few sentences here and there that would describe maybe the how-tos, that might take us in another direction. And there's perhaps other ideas that other board members might have about this. But again, to think about, we could freestyle this by what I see online. There's really no format that we have to follow. We can build what suits us if that's what the board chooses to do. That's it.
Yeah, Mrs. Wittring and I talked about this after we came back from that training, and she actually volunteered to take this on. So I took her up on it. And I think it's perfect because Kim serves on the policy committee, and if that is the way we choose to go, then she'll be perfect. She'll be there. We'll just kind of shore up the policy committees and have a guideline at the end of each policy. So I, too, would like to see this as a discussion item on our work session, and maybe Mrs. Wittring can have some suggestions to us by that meeting for our consideration. So I think that's a real good step in the right direction. Thank you, Kim.
Just one more thing. If anybody has any strong feelings one way or another, again, we can build this thing the way we want it. We could start out with an outline, then again, it's one more document that we will have to maintain. So I would keep that in mind if it's, you know, as opposed to inserting maybe some steps or some directions into policy. So just keep that in mind, and if you have any ideas you want to get to me, that's fine.
Thank you. Any other new business? Mr. Phillips.
Probably more falls under old business, but it goes back to our RFI for solicitor and board procedure and having that on the agenda. I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but to talk about good board procedure, you should have a solicitor here guiding us on what's the best board procedure. So for our next work session agenda, I'd like to have on there the RFI that we started last year and go back into discussing the results that we had from the RFI and get that part of that step done and then work on board procedure. The other thing was you mentioned the state was saying that schools weren't going to be allowed to start. They were looking at a bill for that they couldn't start before Labor Day.
They couldn't hold, you can't have classes, but you can't have in-service for teachers.
And what would that, I guess the point I'm making is, what would that do to our school year if they passed such a law? I know we've gone round and round about calendars, and so I don't know if Tim could further.
To possibly alleviate any fears, that bill comes up every year by the tourism lobbyist group. The lobbyists bring it up. It's every year, and you could just imagine the big entities in the state who are behind that. I could name a few right here, and it's not passed yet. Obviously, it's a lot of revenue for the state if they were to force schools not to start till after Labor Day, and many schools do now. So it's every year. Although I know it's being discussed, I tend not to take it overwhelmingly seriously.
Okay, thanks, because that was the one thing we were talking, it was on top of my mind since we were talking about calendars, and that's makes sense. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other new business? There being none, we'll move on to courtesy of the floor. Mr. Andrews?
Good evening. John Andrews, Lower Providence. Security and sunshine. In terms of school security, last week we had a presentation at the meeting entitled Safety Update. The reason for it is readily obvious. As a member of the community, I viewed it as constructive and worry that various factions in the country want to increase protections in too much of a hurry. For instance, places without guns still have crime involving tragedy, so blanket gun control is not the solution. There's probably no easy solution. Some suggestions of mine, security training and vigilance, better moats, and by moats I would explain that out of the public eye, as you know, as the administration indicated, there are other improvements that are not being publicized. Work harder at controlling bullying, be sensitive to the impact on those bullied, and watching unnormal behavior. Others likely have suggestions, and perhaps there should be meetings to gather their ideas from the public. In terms of the Sunshine Act, which has explicit requirements about executive sessions, I want to compliment Mr. Phillips for suggesting better compliance with the Sunshine Act in the area of executive sessions at last week's meeting. Remember, you're about the people's business, not some private agenda. All directors were given booklets on the Sunshine Act, I believe about a year ago. All directors must try to comply and help one another in compliance. The penalties are stiff for good reason and on you as individuals. Last fall, I believe there was an unannounced directors' meeting to discuss PSSA test scores and related items. Maybe it was called a board development meeting. The Sunshine Act does not assign any privileges to such a meeting designation. PSSA scores are hardly the type of a subject that meets the defined reasons for an executive session. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Ms. Zalba?
Candy Alaba, Eagleville. I took an opportunity to look at the PSBA standards and codes that you reaffirmed tonight, and I found it interesting that the Pennsylvania School Board Association mentions more than once about engaging all the community stakeholders, seeking input from the stakeholders, and including the stakeholders in all communication. And unfortunately, the last couple months, I've heard from members of the board that the public is not allowed to, no questions, no answers, just make a comment. Stakeholders have a right to ask questions. Last week at the school board meeting, Mr. Ron Evans asked a question of what money has been paid out to attorneys for the investigation that is going on, and Mrs. Petrowska stated it was covered by the Sunshine Law. Unfortunately, it's not, because I have put in a right-to-know request. The legal fees that have been paid out in the last 4 years and the legal settlements, combined, it comes over to $1,875,000. That's a lot of money. That's an indication we need an attorney sitting at this table. When the subject of executive sessions and announcing them was brought up, the penalty is $1,000 for the first offense, $2,000 for the second. What was handled last week, I could have went immediately to the district justice and filed a complaint. I was in my legal rights. A lawsuit was settled. It cost $8,000. That's what was requested, just to abide by the Sunshine Act. It's a very quick read. You all received books. I'd like to believe that you've read it. It's a very simple thing to do. I was disappointed to see things were done the same way last week as they've been done in the past. That's why the laws have changed. But I would like to see the stakeholders be involved more, be allowed to ask questions. We should be asking questions and getting answers from any member of the board, whether it's here, phone call at home, in writing. But we're asking how our money is being spent. You have a responsibility to the district taxpayers to inform us. But I think $1 million in 4 years could have been better spent on the students.
I'd just like to respond to that. Mr. Evans did not ask how much money was being spent on legal fees. He asked if his taxes were being spent on legal fees for the current investigation that's ongoing. And my answer is protected by the Sunshine Law because it is a personnel matter. Now, you went and did a right to know and got other information which is available under the right to know, but certainly not information that I would have at hand last week. Do we have any other comments? Do I have any other comments? If not, we'll move on to response to questions from last week. Dr. Quinn?
There was just one question, whether or not the solicitor has a contract with Methacton, and our solicitors do not have a contract.
Thank you. Moving on to communications, Mrs. Lynch.
Freedom Credit Union is again partnering with the Montgomery County Intermediate Unit to recognize excellence in teaching among Montgomery County teachers by presenting their annual Voices of Inspiration Award. These annual awards will honor 23 finalists, one from each Montgomery County School District, with one elementary, one middle, and high school teacher selected as winners. Methacton teacher Nancy Marcinko is among the past winners of this award. Details on how to nominate your favorite Methacton teacher will be available on our website. On Monday, January 28th, Dr. Tim Quinn will again host a public community forum. More than 30 individuals have already registered for the forum to be held in the Worcester Township Community Hall. Details are available on our website, and only a few seats remain, so all those interested are encouraged to register. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we adjourn tonight, I just would like to remind all board members to fill out their IU form that's at their seat, and make sure that you sign it. And also, I'd like to invite everyone for some refreshments after this meeting, again in recognition of School Board Month. So do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Mr. Nascimento, do I have a second? Mr. O'Neill, all in favor? Hello, all in favor? Thank you.
They want to stay.
Motion carries 9-0. Thank you and good night. I guess.